Okay. So what I'm going to first start off with is I'm just going to assume that everybody's expert at gutters. Okay, I sell covers, right? I really don't do anything with the gutters, but I couldn't sell covers if you didn't have gutters. So let's just, for your sake, just to walk up to be comfortable enough. Knowing a little is a lot in this industry, a lot. So I'm going to go through the styles that you're going to probably find, which are pretty basic. The style that you guys have in front of you, a sample, we call it a K style. And so the way that you can differentiate a K style, they're going to say a 5 and a 6. Okay, that's the two styles that are there. They actually have a 4 as well. And their measurement is here. Okay, that's how you're getting that 5 or 6. So the 6, which you have, that's 6 inches across there. 5 is super common. 5 is probably the most common in the United States, but it's a lesser version. It still does a good job. And it still looks good. If you notice how ornate that is, kind of like a frame, the picture, it looks sharp. What you're going to see a lot of, especially over the valley, is a fascia design. And this is a more economical version. Their measurement, as crazy as it is this way. So if they say 5-inch fascia, 6-inch fascia, etc., they're measuring the fascia board. So again, all these things are tying into a rafter tail or a roof. That's your slope, so you kind of get my crazy drawing. But a lot of times this is used in lieu of a fascia. Okay, they don't have a fascia board, so it's kind of a cheap out. There's inherent problems most of the time with this, but it's really common. You're going to see a lot, and it necks down quite a bit down here. It's real narrow, but it's the height. California region, a lot more. So that said, because it's California region, you have a lot of that influence in your region that comes up. So you may see more and more builders choose it and such. And this opening is smaller. 4.5 inches typically, but there's really no measurement that differs that. I just know it, so it's 4.5 inches. The advantage and disadvantages in snow country, the larger this is, anybody just held something out, take a gallon of milk and hold it out there and tell me how that works on you. It's pretty hard, right? So any external weight out here, the further out you get, the more force that's going on. So that can be an issue. Now you have 6K and you want that nice look, it's full, it fills everything up, but now you've created what we just talked about a little bit, right? You're setting that out. So that's why sometimes they'll install this instead. But we have the answer why that 6K is perfect out here with our cover, the combo. But what they do too with the fascia, before I differ from that, is a lot of times they'll leave the break in. And what that does, unfortunately, it does not allow the product to actually slope correctly. It's inherent to the house. So you're basically subject to the builder, right, or the framer. And there's inside corners and certain areas are inherent problems for proper slope. So you can't really make up for the differential. So like in California, the biggest nimbus, if you look at them, you'll look down there'll be rust lines. And what that is silt. It's just dirt. Because it doesn't drain, because it's not really sloped right. It's just static, and as it fills up, it drains out where it needs to, and it holds things. So that's really the problem here. So this design out of the gate, you can go, that's a fascia design. Probably think, have you ever thought about upgrading that? And so now that you're talking to them about this. Now there's half round and a couple other designs that are here. They're kind of a little more eclectic, unique. They're probably not as you're not going to see them as much. So really what you key in on is you're offering the premium as far as an actual gutter, period. You just are. To offset this other part, now we're going to talk about the different things you're going to compete against. And there's a couple simple ones, right? This is kind of a weird version thing. I'm not going to name names because you get all kinds of trouble. And then let's just stick with our original. You're going to put these all on our original, right? So here's one. Let's say it's this. Here's one. It's this. And lastly, we'll do this, right? So there's this aspect to it. Okay. So what we're looking at here is this is kind of a hood design, right? They have a one piece. The issue that we talked about before is weight on something, so it's real, especially in snow areas. And what that does is it has a tendency to let things sit, put more pressure on all this. So any one of these, anything that you can put on here, I don't care if it's a screen, micro mesh. Micro meshes are kind of the hip thing. Everybody's, oh gosh, you know, you need to keep every granule of sand out of there. Well, not necessarily, and I'll tell you why later. But ultimately, what it does do, though, is it interacts with stuff that besides just water. This also has a tendency to build up a little bit, icicling, etc. And ultimately, again, you're trying to manage debris, not just water. So all this stuff has somewhere it settles, and by doing this, you're putting pressure against here, you're pulling it away. This one, same thing, it builds up here. And the hood styles, they're strong, they look great, but then there's just a lot of issues that go on with it. As an example, if I ran this out in one piece, and of course I have a tree, what if a branch came out and bonked that piece? What am I going to do, right? You're going to replace the whole run. That's a $1,000 run, $2,000 run, so on. So you're kind of married to that afterwards. And the thing about, the screens work. I mean, don't kid yourself, they really do work. You're not going to separate solids from liquids any other way. I mean, if you go to a waste treatment plant, etc., they use screens, right? I mean, it's super common sense. But how do they work and what sizing and all that stuff is huge. It makes a big, big difference. And so micro meshes, we have a thing called pollen, and I don't know, you know, certain times of the year you go out, your whole windshield's just got this yellow-green stuff on it, and it turns into a slurry. Well, if you've ever had it gotten wet, it's like a gum. And so I know a lot of guys that have jumped on board with micro meshes, even the ones that are sloped, right? They, oh, we've sloped this right, we're smart. It just sheens over, and then they're spending the next year paying someone to go and clean these things off. So hole sizing matters. You know, you're not going to basically go out and put a HEPA filter outside if you're looking like air-wise. If someone says, hey, I'm going to purify my home, I want to clean as I can in here, so I'm going to take the 100% filter and stick it outside. Within about a day and a half, you're going to replace that because it's just too much overloading. So you have to find that fine medium, and we've done that. Unfortunately, we're not sitting on our laurels. We've been doing this for quite a long time. Before I jump in there, I'm going to ask, this is the sheet you guys got in front of you. You got one on each side. And so, on the one side with the big gap and the dollar amounts and all this kind of stuff, if you don't have one here, I'll teach you. Oh, yeah. What I'd like you to do, and this is just for you, I mean, it's just an understanding. So on the side to the right that has a dollar sign, how much do you think is spent in the United States annually on gutter protection? Systems. I'm not talking your Home Depot, I do it myself, again, not trying to say name.
$10 million.
So again, so how many, let's just do that number real quick. So we have 10 million, right? So that's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1,000. Okay, so was it a million, right? Am I right there?
That's one zero.
Oh, one more zero, there we go, 10. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7, so that's it, so in the US. Anybody else? You think that's right? About right?
About 5 million for the screen mesh on the bottom there.
Okay.
You're gonna separate them out.
Okay. Yeah. So realistically, just to give you an idea, you guys as a company do what a year? You guys have any idea?
A lot.
In gutters?
No. As a everything you sell.
Like 75 million.
I think you did actually 100 and something last year. So okay. So pretty good sized company. So it kind of gives you you sell everything. So out of the top 5. That just sell. I mean, their only lead is you're going out to put on a product. And most of these products, if you look at it, they're either born in Ohio, New Jersey, Roseville, California. Okay, so this was born and bred of the base amount hood. Okay, well, what are we talking about? We're talking about
No.
Oh, yeah, 80 inches of rain, 100-foot fir trees. Okay, so translate those two things. That's where it's born. It's where well, if you want to get like, you know, the old Columbia Sportswear thing, right? So that kind of theory applies. Where you're born, what do you do? So those companies, the other companies, rabbit trail here, but they're doing 150 to 200 million per company. Okay, so and all they're going out on is what?
Gutters.
That's it. Just going to go out that one thing. That's their only lead. So you start adding these up. There's more than one company. There's a handful of these. So let's add a couple more zeros. There's 9 zeros. Okay, so it's $2 billion a year is just gutter systems. Billion, okay? So I'm not even taking into account all these other things. So in the Northwest, if you do the math and you divide it by demographics and so on, so you said 10 million, right? That's probably not even done in the metro area. Well, it's probably in the Northwest closer to 250 to 300 million. Well, that's double what you guys are doing, just in gutters. And the point is, it's great marketing. They do a good job. I'm not trying to bang them because they're making money. Good for them. I mean, you know, and they're offering something the customer obviously wants. And that's the thing I think you got to realize. we're past the point of people, they want it. It's one of the things you're going to interface with that they have to deal with. They have some kind of perception, they have some kind of view, they have some kind of opinion about gutters because they gotta deal with them. If they have debris, they gotta deal with them. They have to either bring somebody in, they have to deal with it themselves. As far as a roof, do they have a real big opinion about it? It looks good. I mean, do they gotta really deal with it a whole bunch? I mean, if smart people will blow them off and clean them up, but they really don't. Siding, same thing. I mean, not that those things aren't very important. It's just something. It's kind of like offering somebody something. Say, what if I said, look, I'm going to put in a brand new yard, but I'm going to put a sprinkler system too. Right? Everybody wants a nice yard, but all the better if you have a sprinkler system that takes care of that yard. Kind of the same concept. So that's what we've come up with. And so because we're coming from probably the most severe environment in the United States, there's really not much more. We have a guy up in Fairbanks, Alaska. He's put on hundreds of thousands of feet. There's only 100,000 people that live in Fairbanks, Alaska. But he's put on hundreds of thousands over the last decade. They use it as a snow break. It's just much more effective. It doesn't compromise the roof system. They don't have to put anything else. Obviously, it's still for debris and etc. They found another usage that's even more and above. Because I couldn't figure out how that small of a region could put on that much product until I went up there. You guys have that same advantage here. Right? And not everybody's going to have a 100-foot fir tree in their backyard. But everybody's going to deal with snow damage. Everybody's going to deal with those kind of things. So that's a big deal. So knowing that that much is being done, and knowing that that much is being sold, you guys should have some confidence and say, hey, look, I've got something coming from the Northwest. Again, if I was to go out and say, hey, I'm going to, a winter coat, right? You're going to go out and buy a winter coat. You're not going to buy one that says, Daytona, Florida. Not a lot of confidence in that. So I think the same is if you look across the board at every one of your competitions, you look at where they're born and bred from. And you say, well, I mean, how does that even relate to our area? That's why I think there's a jaded population out there because a lot of those things have come in, they have sold, they've worked marginally. They've done some adaptations to make them work better. But we started here. We didn't bring anything to market until it worked here. So when we translated nationally, it's been a no-brainer. We sell more in Minneapolis, St. Paul than we do Portland and Seattle. Crazy, right? But it's just because it's that much better. And I think the mindset's different too. People want an answer. They want the right answer. They really do. I mean, they would love it. If you're able to go in there, they don't even know that you have this offer and you're offering to them. It's like, wow, that is super nice. I mean, do they want the idea of either having someone else dealing with it, the potential of someone getting hurt, themselves having to deal with it, the constant interfacing with it, it's something that people want. So now ours, when we talk about these other designs, a hood and a screen, and there's good things about both of them, but there's very bad things about both of them. So what we decided to do is say, hey, how can we take both of these, merge them, take the best of one, best of the other, and get rid of the weakness, right? That's our goal. That's what we did 20 years ago. So ours is a hybrid. We actually had a couple national companies reach out to us and say, hey, or they're like orgs. And they're doing these things on a foam or a this or a that. And they said, how do we classify you? Because we can't put you into a notch. I said, well, we're kind of in our own category. So what we did was, by using the bullnose works. Water comes down and it wicks and it throws. So that's why they get this. It does work, but it also can draw things in. It just can. I mean, you take a fir needle, you follow it down. If you go to a trade show, they have one of these, you throw some leaves up there, a piece of paper up there, it'll probably suck into the pump and the guy will probably get pretty mad at you. So that retention aspect works. So our product comes down, has that V, right? This V in it is A, to slow down water, but also to manipulate this to fit very flush. So you're not pulling roofing away. This is actually tucking up underneath the first layer. And there's a reason why we do that. We don't attach anything to the house, nothing at all. Because that's your next weak link. A lot of these other designs are, even if they put them on existing, they're like, okay, well, we're going to screw a bunch of screws in here. And then what happens if they rust? What happens if there's an issue? Anytime you're attaching something to the home, you're subject to the potential of some kind of problem. So we don't do that. We allow this to free flow because expansion and contraction is a real deal. Heat goes one way, cold goes the other. So this thing can freely move the subtlety that it does. Comes down, slows down a little bit, hits this and throws it down. Now here's the $120,000 patent. We have 2 utility patents, and that's actually a function. That's not a design. We have design patents as well, but a function. So it translates beyond gutter cover into just about anything. And the point with that is, it's something that no one else can do. So this is yours and yours alone. There's not one other customer can have this, period. So let's go to our samples, those that have them. And then the reason why I did white, and I'm going to show you real quick. My number one thing that I ask you to do when you're showing this product is show it in the direction that the debris flows. So if you're looking at this product right now, I'm having you look right down so that if it was debris, it would go this way, correct? We're looking the right way. And so how big do those holes look to you? Almost, probably non-existent for the most part, right? Pretty small. So I deal with the fir needles, other side of the valley. You guys deal with pine needles, right? So everybody's, everybody's instantly they're an architect or they're an engineer when they kind of look at the tubes. Wait a minute, that might fit into this. But here's the point. So the debris is going to flow this way, and we want it to. We want it to actually move. Our whole point is not to hold or filter. Our whole point is to get every bit of debris that's here down here, just off the roof. That's our goal. Because you can have a fir tree that can puke out 50 pounds of debris. So you want it up. But by showing it this way, optically, all the hole sizes are the same in every color, but for whatever our eyes register a different way. But if I showed it this way to someone that had a fir, what are they going to say?
Yeah, holes are too big.
Hey, it's super simple, right? And so people go, well, that's so subtle, that's so simple. I said, yeah, well, okay, but here's how good it works. Grab a cheese grater, reverse it, turn it around, and try to grate cheese. What's that going to do for you? Flat, not going to work. You'd return it, right? You take it back to the store and say, man, this doesn't work. Do it the right way, it works. So that's what we said. We said, well, wait a minute, time out. There's a lot of screens on the market. There's a ton of them, but none of them can do this. And by doing this, what you're essentially doing is you're shedding the debris. So the water, it's self-cleaning itself. It's not sitting up there and waiting for the next windstorm. It's not waiting for the next snow. The whole process is to get it from A to Z. It's built to get this stuff off. So why I do it in white is, again, you'll look at it in black. We have 3 different colors you guys are going to use. You have white, you have black, and you have brown. There's one subtle difference with the brown, and I will suggest this. If you have, the brown has a high gloss on it. You notice that? It speeds water up immensely, and that's a good thing because we're not afraid of stuff moving. So if you have a 412 comp roof, you have a slower, everything's kind of moving slow, you want that debris to move, get off of here. So the gloss is a really good option. So, and there's no difference in charge. It's more expensive for me to powder coat, but the pricing is the same. So this is your beige. And again, it sits pretty low profile, so most of the time, unless you have a dormer, you're really not even going to know that it's on. We just went and took some videos on our way over the mountain. The product's been on for 20 years plus, up in that whole zigzag, up in areas that shouldn't even have gutters on, but they've had it for 20 years. I mean, it's again, if you go through that region, stop at Thriftway, all those outlying with metal roofs and stuff, they had it on for decades. And so, but it's hard to figure out if they have it. I'm driving through the golf course neighborhood knowing there's a ton on there, but you gotta really look. It doesn't have I'm not sure until you go to the end maybe and you see the end cap. You can't even hardly tell it's on there. So to get too hung up on the color sometimes is just shooting yourself in the foot, And then lastly, black. Black's probably the best color, again too, because it draws in some of that ambient heat for the snow as well, helps melt that away. So a lot of the samples previously were black. We sell a ton of black, kind of the hip color now. The whole gutter systems look great black, to be honest. We did our whole, kind of have a compound, if you will, between housing and like 6 outbuildings and shops and everything. So it's all black. It looks sharp. It looks real good. And so this is a nice one. Like in the Rockies, this is all they buy. So up in, we sell Denver area, Boulder, and the Front Range, and pretty much all they're putting on is black. So those are your color options. White sometimes in the city works pretty good too, but they do make a difference. This isn't the same. This isn't the gloss. It's a matte. So if you have a steeper roof, it's okay. Don't get scared. I mean, this is 10-12 pitch roofs. It should be fine. Not a problem. It's all about the guy putting it in. You have to drop maybe a little bit of the gutter to get that fall, but that's the installer. That's not you guys. You're still offering the right answer. So we talked about it sheds debris, and there's a reason why. Now I want to tell you kind of what makes our product so distinctly different. Our product's handled 5 times. So it goes through 5 sets of hands. It's like a latte of the coffee industry, right? It's a specialty product. It's made of aluminum. This isn't just spit off a roll former like you see a lot of products. They just come out and they spit off. I've been to a lot of facilities where a guy's got whatever, he's got tunes on, he's not paying attention, it's just a counter, done. Now this is literally touched 5 times. This piece is made separate than this piece, and this piece is made separate. All of them have to match. If they don't, it's not passed along. Get stopped, right? So once we roll all these separate pieces and then put in a jig, all the tox points happen, the pre-punches all get put in there. So here's some advantage. A, it's aluminum, so it won't rust. B, it's super lightweight. Now we powder coat this product, twice as expensive, twice as strong. By powder coating, we reheat this so it tempers it differently, right? So tempers strength. So now all of a sudden, this is like steel, but it's so light. Back to our original thing, it's adding no weight. It's just deflecting everything. So you're not putting a strain on the system, you're actually allowing the system to work more effectively by shedding it. But all these things have added up to the longevity of it. When we powder coat, if you know the process, it's basically hung up here and it's electric, the negative and the positive, right? The powder's pulled onto it, that's how it's pulled on, and it's baked in there. So what we found is, all these tox points, I was kind of concerned, I was like, well, wait a minute, we're selling a lot in, say, Minneapolis, it's -40 or -20, and it's 90. So what's gonna happen when this stuff expands and contracts? Is this gonna come apart? Well, it hasn't, and it doesn't, because that actually adds to the strength. It's just crazy how over time some of these things have just reinforced themselves as more of a positive. So again, we did sit on our laurels. We did try. I'm not trying to bash these other products that are out there. I just know we've tested them because if something's hot, everybody says, well, what if you made the hole size smaller? And again, we're dealing with what? 30, right? Pine needle. So we went half the hole size. Looks cool, right? Looks great, all this stuff. We tested it, it lasted about 6 months. So now I can't take it to market. So I have a whole bunch of this screen that does nothing, because we didn't sell it. We just said, no, we're not gonna bring it to market. And then lastly, we went with a micro mesh. And again, I'm just doing this because we needed to know. In the Bay Area, the micro mesh was going off the chain, guys were asking me about it. Saying, hey, so we built a micro mesh. Same premise. It lasted about a month. Paul. So again, that's just, so if you do the whole thing, you can just exponentially say, okay, Bill, that's a month, but then what would this be? 6 months, a year? I don't know, 4 months? So I'm speaking from experience, not just looking at someone else's product. We tried to integrate it. We tried to play with it to say, is that hole size better for what we're doing? Because people, that's the first thing they're going to say. I don't know, if they have a negative. But again, if you show it the right way, you alleviate the negative out of the gate. Because you're already telling them the answer for what they're going to say, right? Because you're already saying, we thought about it, and this is why it works. Because you got to let pollen, you got to let certain things through. It's like people that have a garbage disposal on their drain system. It still works. You just got to get the stuff to a degree that's manageable. This is outside plumbing. And the only bad thing about outside, plumbing's great, but what's the worst thing that could happen in plumbing? Is a problem, right? That's where the problem is. Same with outside plumbing, same with a gutter. You can do way more damage by having a problem, because now you've concentrated all that water to one spot, right? And it could be an overnight thing. My folks are down in Phoenix, of all places. Had a little issue, it filled their whole house up. Because they get storms, just like everywhere, thunderstorm. That's crazy. How much damage one storm can do. So it's something that, if you're taking the whole system and you're bulletproofing it for the person, you're doing them a great service, I guess. That's the other thing. I want you to be confident in the fact that you are doing a service. So I talked about the different temper, the rigidity, the powder coating. Some of the things that I really want to hammer home is, this is 100% American, purchase made, etc., and Northwest for the advantage here. So we buy only from American mills. We don't buy anything overseas. We spec it all from here. Our specs, I actually pay a premium, an extensive premium, to get it the way we want it, in lieu of going out, reaching out, buying overseas overstock. We could have done this with a pre-paint, just like they do gutters, right? What's going to happen? We're cheapening the product. It would still have the same overall design, but it's not going to have the tensile strength difference. It's not going to have the color combination. So all these things. So we're just sticking to the top of the line. So you essentially have a franchise company. I guess that's what I'm trying to get across to you. You have a franchise company in the back. In fact, I believe you have the best. And you don't have to pay a franchise fee. In fact, No one's expecting you to go out and say, hey, guess what? You gotta pay for every advertisement we're putting on the news, because we're gonna run 7 of them at night. Because if you're in the valley, they do. I mean, it's constant, right? They're constantly, and someone's paying for that, you know? So this is that ace up your sleeve that you have. So if all those things matter to somebody, they really do significantly matter. It's a huge thing. The powder coat is way more eco-friendly. Our box is 100%, everything's recyclable. Everything from the packing to everything we use. There's not a piece of tape or staple on it. We've just kind of done the things that we want to do. We have children, they're growing up. I mean, now they're in college and they're, you know, beyond. But at the same point, we're kind of like, hey, well, can we do it? We can. Why not do it then? It costs more, but we do it. And so what you're doing is, again, you're going head to head against franchise systems, and you're going to come in at half their cost, but you're offering twice the system that does twice the amount around you. I mean, you know, supporting local, less carbon footprint, blah, blah, blah. So those are all solids that you guys should have. I mean, years ago, I would run out and I would just go to installer and I would put 30 feet on a run. I didn't want to convince anybody. I said, call me when you're done. Call me when you know. Well, I get a call from one guy, anyways, he told me, hey, your product was on. Don't remember the guy at all. Told me where he was. I was super excited. Well, great. You gonna order something? He goes, no, I sold my gutter company. So I put it on like 2 years ago, but I just had to tell you how good it works. So obviously my approach wasn't really great, and that's why I appreciate you guys being able to take this, because the tail wags the dog. I mean, the homeowner is the one that really is the end user. And if they understand and realize, wow, I'm getting something that, just like all your products, it's the best. You've done your homework. We're getting the best product we can. This should be a no-brainer, you know, for you guys especially, the way you can finance and do different things. And then a lot of times they're going to go, okay, so, you know, how long has this guy been, you know, what have they been doing, how long they've been doing it. So everybody, what were you doing 10 years ago in 2010?
I was in high school.
Okay. No, but I mean, but probably something different than you do now. Yeah, but probably something different than you're doing now, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So go 15 years ago, what were you guys doing? You're in junior high, right? Yeah, so no, I get it. You know, because I get it, because I mean, you know, I get guys that, you know, my kids, I remember pretty young helping out when we were kind of mom and pop and starting and all this. So anyways, we sold nationally now. We've been doing this for 20 years. So that's a while. You know, it sneaks up on you, but that's a while. And the great part is because that's not great necessarily. I'm not the franchiser. You know, I didn't sell it over to a bunch of people to franchise my company, because that's really who's making a lot of the money is the franchisees, not necessarily the person that came up with the product. We've grassrooted most of our stuff. It's just because this guy has it, it works, I want it type of stuff. Same with installers. Because it works, we don't get callbacks, we want it. DeBella, same thing. We wanted the best, they found it. There's like, wow, we're not getting the issues, this is offering the best, so on. So that's how we've grown. We're now sold in every state in the union at some point. We've sold over 6 million linear feet. So the numbers are bigger now, right, than they were back then. But 6 million. And to date, we've never had one product return. 6 million, 20 years. So confidence level for me is off the charts. You know, when you start a company, the phone rings, you're like, oh geez, I hope this isn't an issue. And 20 years later, you know, I'll talk to homeowners. You know, it doesn't bother me. You know, I can tell them the facts. You know, it's not about convincing, it's about relaying. There's a big difference. You're not leading people out to a mirage, you're leading them to the water. I mean, if they want to, you know, that's the validity I hope you guys really get with this, and I can impart. So that's the quick version. On the back is a much more detailed, but it's just basically a redundant. It's just going to talk a little bit more, maybe about a specific patent, about this, about that. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you do. You guys are really you are, I don't want to say the tail, no one wants to be the tail, right? Yeah. but you're the tip of the spear, really, because you're the person that's being able to have the opportunity for somebody that has to muddle through all these options and say, wow, what's best for me? And the best is the best for you. That's the answer. And the great part is you have it. So again, when we talked about the different styles, so here's one of the things that you run into, an architect's nightmare, let's say, or dream, okay? So the roof lines are a big deal. They look great. But what you find is they're running a significant amount of the overall square footage of the roof down an inside valley, right? So they can take 30% of a roof and squeeze it down to this 2 inches. So that concentrates everything. Not only does it concentrate water, it concentrates debris. So you got all these said guys that we talked about before or alluded to, and they have to deal with it. So how does that wraparound work? Well, they kind of do some stuff. So I met some people up in BC, British Columbia and stuff, and they made inserts and such, and for these products, and they have holes about the size of my finger all throughout it, right? That's what, because it's just such a high flow area. So really what they're doing is they're managing it all in their downspout. They're going to put a huge downspout. They're like, well, yeah, it's going to get in, but we don't care because we're not getting something big in there. We're going to manage this debris through this big holes. I mean, all over. And it'll come in here, but yet we'll get it down. And then we're going to put something inline strainer. And then if the person doesn't do it, it's on them. Because it's real deceptive. If you listen to a lot of things, they'll say, hey, it'll never clog your gutter. It said nothing about the micro mesh not getting clogged, right? They just said the gutter won't get clogged. You know, so there's a real subtlety in a lot of this kind of stuff. And even if they do warranty it, say, hey, yeah, we're going to come out, so on and so forth. They may not, but they're just taking it and moving it downstream, right? So what if you can kind of do the best of it? You say, well, we're just going to get most of it out. Still, but you know, of course, the small amount that gets in, you still need to manage it, and they're made, if the system's installed correctly, it will. Again, our product doesn't fix a bad gutter job, but the guys that are installing it, you guys are great because you're always putting new gutter on. You're not just sticking it on an existing job and expecting a magic wand. All of a sudden, that 1,200 pounds worth of crap coming out of these trees is going to disappear now, right? It's not going to happen. You guys have the best of both worlds. So what we did was inside biters, inserts as well. We added a couple little small nuances, like I said before, the end caps, outside corners, super inexpensive and relatively very cost effective, but they make them very uniform. Again, very franchise-like. But what we did was, this is 7 by 7, so this is like 10 times the amount can go through this. But we captured our patents. We louvered it the right way. So it's shedding the whole time. So you could just cut it out and put a piece of screen in there. What are you going to do? It's just going to sit, right? Because if you turn the screen the wrong way, it's going to catch. Because that's what a cheese grater does, right? We talked about that. But if you turn it flat, it's just going to sit. So this is actually still on the way to shed, right? So this is an insert as well. These are powder coated. These are nailed. The guys cut them in, slide them in. So this is our answer. Because a lot of times they'll want to put a deflector up or something. But what happened in our region? What if I put 6 inches up like this in the inside valleys here? What do you think would happen? It'd be on the floor in, one season. I mean, one good snow, really. So again, this is our answer. This was the guys that we used to take a piece of this and just cross cut it and put it in there, and it worked pretty good. But this is just way better. You know, we just said, you know what, let's go for the gusto. So we designed this and started making this. So this is also part of it. So those are the only 3 areas the guys had to come out of the box and do something different, but people were doing it differently. Now, as your system, you have all 3 areas exactly the same, going to be done the same. So there's no weak link now. I guess that's my point. I mean, you know, where most people would have to deal with that, there is. So, again, thank you for your time. Appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
Finish early Friday.
Yeah.